You don't need a squat rack or a barbell to develop strong, powerful legs.
Back in the day, before squat racks and leg machines were a thing, strongmen from the physical culture era knew exactly how to build powerful legs and bulletproof knees with just the bare minimum of equipment.
The Kettlebell Hack Squat will develop bulletproof knees, teach you perfect squat mechanics, and develop full body control without wrecking your joints. The Hack Squat is named after George Hackenschmidt, a legendary strongman and wrestler from the early 1900s with almost 2,000 wins to his name. And these weren't WWE style stage matches. I'm talking about styles like Greco-Roman and catch-as-catch-can wrestling. In early physical culture training, this squat variation was used to build raw leg strength and deep knee resilience. Now, almost no one does it. But it's still a fantastic squat variation and one that any serious lifter should have in their training regimen.
So the Kettlebell Hack Squat breaks all the rules of conventional squatting. Generally, squats are taught as follows, right? Gonna keep the feet flat, bias the weight a little bit more towards the heel, and sit the butt back, right? So you end up with this sort of vertical shin position. For most people, there's gonna be a slight forward lean to counterbalance the weight of the hips. The Hack Squat ignores all that. With the Hack Squat, instead of breaking at the hips, you're gonna break at the knees, and we're going to lift the heels off the ground. So we end up in this very kind of knees tracking forward position, heels are up, and we're basically sitting the hamstring on the calf, right? And then from here, come up. So here's why this is such a great variation of the squat, right? First of all, you're building strength in the foot and ankle. And remember, nothing you do athletically is done from a flat foot, right? And everything we do where we're moving our bodies is about pushing force into the floor and that force coming up the chain, right? So building some strength in here. We're also getting the knees tracked forward. So we're going to be emphasizing a little bit more of the VMO, right? Which is this teardrop shaped muscle on the inside of your thigh. Crucial for knee health and athletic performance, okay? So a lot of good things happen when you squat up on your toes, driving the knees forward. So if you haven't done this type of squat before, it can be a little bit of a challenge. So I'm going to show you a progression in this video to take you from first starting out with this kind of a squat all the way up to the Kettlebell Hack Squat. So the first step on our progression is the Hindu squat. This is named after ancient Indian wrestlers who would do hundreds of these as part of their conditioning regimen. So you're going to start in a regular squat stance. Your feet can be basically anywhere that feels comfortable. Turned out a little if that's the way you move, or facing forward, entirely up to you. And we're going to reach the hands back and drop the hips straight down. So once again, we end up in that sort of sitting on our calves position, and the hands are going to reach back. From here, the arms are going to swing forward, bring it in like you're doing a row, and repeat. Now, traditionally, these are done at quite a rapid clip to give you a conditioning effect and very high repetitions. UFC legendary fighter and coach Ken Shamrock expected his new fighters to be able to do 500 consecutive reps of the Hindu squat before they were even allowed to train with the team. You don't need to do 500 reps. If you can do 50 Hindu squats straight, then you're in good enough shape to move on to the next progression. The next variation is the Tiptoe squat, and this is basically the same as the Hack Squat, just without the kettlebell. So first, it's a different foot position. So with both the Tiptoe squat and the Hack Squat, you want to have your feet relatively close together. I like to use a fist distance, roughly, and turning the feet out. Now from here, you're going to drive the knees forward, tracking out over the toes, staying as tall as you can, and squat down with the hands out in front to help you balance. And then we're going to come up, keeping the heels off the ground, drop back down again, and up. Okay, this is the Tiptoe squat. Your goal for this, 30 consecutive repetitions without the heels touching the floor. So now we come to the Hack Squat itself. If you've been able to do the 50 Hindu squats and the 30 Tiptoe squats, and you've built up the capacity to do that, then the jump to the Hack Squat should be a relatively short one. If you try the Hack Squat right out of the gate and you find yourself extremely unstable at the bottom, then it makes sense to go back, work the previous progressions, build up the strength and capacity, and then return to the Hack Squat when you're prepared for it. The first thing you're going to notice is that when compared to regular squatting, the Hack Squat is loaded in a very unusual way. The weight is behind your back and above your heels. Now, this is a very inefficient position, so you don't need to go heavy here to get a lot of action in the legs. Now, you're not just going to grab the kettlebell and hold it here. There's a little bit of a technique to it. I want you to think about trying to pull the kettlebell apart, right? Trying to rip the horn apart, while at the same time, pulling your shoulders back. So this space right here, like the collarbone, think about pulling that back. So pulling the kettlebell apart, pulling the shoulders back. And then from here, it's essentially the same as the tiptoe squat, just with a little bit more of a forward lean to counterbalance the weight of the kettlebell. So grab the bell behind you, shoulders back, pull the horn apart, get your feet into position, so slightly turned out, about a fist distance between. Tilt your torso a little bit forward, drop down into the hack squat. So one point I really want to emphasize is that your knees are actively pulling out, right? This is going to create a much more stable foundation for you at the bottom. If you're relaxed, it's going to be a little wobbly, right? So think about pulling the knees apart. This is also going to bake a little bit more flexibility into the adductors at the bottom of the squat. And then when you come up, keep that tension. So keep thinking about keeping the knees away from each other on the way down and on the way up. So as far as where this fits into your program goes, there's a few different options. This is actually a really good main strength lift, especially if you haven't done it before. And it's also one of those lifts where there is such a thing as being strong enough at it. So if you're able to work up to using a kettlebell roughly 1/3 of your body weight, so for me at 210 pounds, that would be using a 70-pound kettlebell, and you're able to do 10 reps, then you can consider yourself strong enough at the kettlebell hack squat, move it out of your program and move in something else that you need to work on. Number 2 is as a finisher. If you're somebody who really likes to chase the burn at the end of their workouts, this is a fantastic exercise for that, done for higher repetitions with a more moderate weight. Something I've been using it for lately is as a warm-up for high bar back squats. Generally, when I do back squats, I find my knees feel a little creaky for the first few sets. If I start my workout with a few sets of hack squat, then my knees feel so much more buttery, everything's moving so much better, and I'm able to squat heavy right out of the gate. So if you like this video and you found the information in it useful, please hit like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.